Hello, this is TradeSight's Forex Chat and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, the 5th of January 2014. Happy New Year. And ending on Friday, the 10th of January. Time to get the new year started out. We had a winner or two here last week in the partial week. There was obviously a holiday for the New Year's Day. But this is a full week, and if we see some of the ranges I saw this week, we may be able to get back to normal trading size again, just like last year after the fiscal cliff. Kind of strange that we dragged on so far into the year, the back end of the year, with light ranges, but if they improve, we'll definitely go ahead and raise our size once again. Here's a look at the dollar index daily chart. You can see that this is kind of an awkward seeker, what I call an awkward seeker formation. We are now 12 bars up on the seeker on the dollar index, and you can see I just printed the 12 there by going into projection mode. But we're lower in this entire count than we were in the 9-bar setup phase. So even if we get a big up day here for the dollar and get a 13 sell signal, that to me is a questionable signal. You're going to have to be above the 8, which we already are. So technically, you could get a sell signal, a 13 here, with any movement up here on Sunday. And that's lower than the 9-bar setup phase. So I find that a little less interesting than what we usually like to see out of a seeker signal. Let's take a look at the euro dollar here. You can see the pullback this last week. A couple of down days for the euro to start the year. And in a second here, our seeker will print on the chart. And you can see that we ran into that green static trend line and could not get through. And now we've got the red static trend line below to be looking at as a potential target. And then finally, we're going to take a look here at the pound dollar. And this is kind of interesting. Both the pound dollar and the pound yen are both forming, getting very close to seeker and Comer 13 sell signals. So here's the pound dollar in particular. You can see here there's an 11, a red 11 there buried behind that new 4. And actually, if I go into projection mode here, let's see if we lose that count. And what you're going to see here in a second, yep. So we've lost the count now, counting today's or Friday's action. So you can see the 11. If we do turn back up, we'll get a 12 and a 13 rather quickly on the seeker tool. And if I go and edit the chart here and I take out the seeker and put the Comer on instead, you can see that we're 10 bars up there. Now we need new highs on the Comer to get the 11, 12, and 13, but we're still very close. So we'll be looking for that on the pound dollar, and it's also there potentially on the pound yen for those who trade that. I'll let you take a look at that yourself. Let's look at the action this week. This is 15-minute bars. You can see here we've got Friday's action last Thursday here. There was no trading Wednesday. This is Tuesday and then Monday. So that's the whole week right there. For the whole week, we did trade over 200 pips of range, about 240, which is an improvement. I do like that, and that's why I'm getting a little bit interested at least. And a lot of that was on Thursday and Friday, which were the new days, or the days of the new year. So that's exciting to see, and if we can keep that up, we'll definitely be moving back to full size, as I said earlier. Here's a look at the pound dollar in 15-minute bars going back this week, and you'll notice here that we also had some relatively decent ranges, if it'll come up here for me, and if not, we'll move on. All right, so we may come back to that in just a moment. Let's take a look here at the economic data due out this week, as we always do, and keeping in mind that the biggest focus to me is just to get a feel for whether the market's doing anything in terms of improving its range. That's going to be the real key for us for trading. But economic data-wise, you've got Italy still on holiday, and then German preliminary CPI, European and Italian and Spanish services PMI data all coming out Monday morning early. Centex investor confidence number out of Europe. Services PMI out of the UK. Canada's got their RMPI and IPPI 8:30 in the morning Eastern time on Monday. US has services PMI data due. We also have factory orders after that and non-manufacturing PMI. The vote for Yellen comes up, and then we've got monetary base out of Japan on Monday evening. Trade balance out of Australia. There's the 10-year bond auction out of Japan. Europe's got their German retail sales number going into Tuesday. Foreign currency reserves out of Switzerland. Halifax HPI out of the UK. That's spread over some days there. CPI flash estimate out of Europe. German unemployment change and PPI out of Europe. Trade balance out of U.S. and Canada, that's Tuesday morning at 8:30. That's one of our big three. So we'll remain half size ahead of that number. That's just what we do. IB PMI out of Canada that morning. That evening we go to the AIG Construction Index out of Australia, the BRC Shop Price Index out of UK. Going into Wednesday, German trade balance, Italian monthly unemployment rate, Bank of England credit conditions survey, retail sales out of Europe, unemployment rate out of Europe, German factory orders. Then U.S. we've got ADP non-farm employment, we've got crude oil inventories, 10-year bond auction. This is all for Wednesday. Minutes of the last Fed meeting are released. Consumer credit comes out at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday evening, New Zealand's building consensus, and then Australia's building consensus and retail sales. China's CPI and PPI together. European, the French trade balance. UK's trade balance. We've got rate announcements out of both the Bank of England and the ECB in Europe. So that's a moment for those two pairs, obviously. Anything related to those. That you could see a spike. We've got housing starts out of Canada and building permits out of Canada, the NHPI out of Canada. Unemployment claims, the weekly number out of the U.S., our natty gas and 10-year bonds. So we're back to a normal week for the U.S. stuff. Trade balance out of China, leading indicators out of Japan, unemployment rate, unemployment rate data out of Canada and then out of the U.S. So that's another one of our big three. So we'll be half size ahead of that on Friday as well. So we'll have two half size days going into Tuesday and going into Friday, no matter what happens, because of the key data that comes out to the big ones. So even if the ranges expand out, we're still going to be a little bit cautious. And don't forget, those two rate announcements out of Europe are going to be a point where the market could fluctuate as well. Here's a jump back to the pound. Here you can see that the pound also traded 220 pips, a range for the week. On the 15-minute chart, the seeker signals, there were a couple of them pretty much pegged the highs and lows. Pretty interesting all around. So it'll be interesting to see how this week goes, what we get out of the start of the year. As usual, charts brought to you by eSignal 11, and we hope to see you in the lab where we'll be giving you the calls that hopefully make you money.